Hey everyone, today I thought I would give you another quick garden tour of a very beautiful property. And there might be a stray weed or two because we haven't really maintained this area of the garden for a few weeks, but so please try to ignore that. But otherwise, everything's looking pretty good. So the idea is I'm sort of redeveloping this into my own aesthetic after inheriting it from another person who maintained and did design work here. And so this season I added lots and lots of annual color and also a lot of new perennials, which will fill in as time goes by. And this fall I might do a little more transplanting and just change things around a little bit. So I'm pretty much just going to point out every plant, and if you have any comments or suggestions or thoughts, please let me know. So we have a mixture of shade perennials here, hostas, and the Asarum, which is called wild ginger. It's getting a little bit too much sun, I think. And the ones that are yellowing out a bit are, this is a wood poppy. And so for annuals, I chose, these are New Guinea impatiens, and of course marigolds, wonderful plants that I'm very fond of. This ground cover looks a lot like a juga, but it's not a juga. I'm pretty sure it's lyre leaf sage, which is slightly different, blooms at a slightly different time with a bit of a different habit. It seems to colonize maybe less aggressively, and so a lyre is a precursor of the guitar. It's a medieval instrument, and it really has sort of a look like that. And then the headstock would tip backwards, and you would have several courses of strings, which are doubles that are tuned to the same note. So just a real mixture of lots of plants here. Some noteworthy stuff. I really like this moonbeam coreopsis. It transplants well, and there's some other unusual and interesting cultivars like Zagreb, slightly different color. The thread leaf style really performs well. It emerges early in the spring and is just really a beautiful and well-behaved plant all around. This is also a variation on the really nice native plant, but it's called Joe Pye weed, and this was a cultivar called Little Joe, which stays nicely compact. And beside it we have annual color in the form of a spider plant, a cleome, and then really stunning combination here with the red lobelia, and we have a native blue lobelia that lives in like wet areas around rivers and stuff in our native woodlands. And behind it we have a tall purple phlox, garden phlox. And as soon as these little sedums, which are probably autumn joys, take on their color, then they'll kind of fill in this area. So this is a bumble blue ageratum. So they really perform well in some situations, but not quite so much in others. So I'm kind of timid to plant them in a lot of cases, but when they perform well, they do really, really well. And more annual color, I added some begonias. This is probably the Whopper cultivar. And here, another plant that is often found in our native woodlands is spiderwort, Tradescantia. And that one, I'm also sort of looking for the primo location for them. Sometimes they underperform. And you'll see some pollinators flitting around this wonderful plant. This is a pycnanthemum, or a mountain mint. And they have a really sensational scent. And I also tucked a lantana in there. And they often have interesting names like Tutti Frutti. I'm probably misremembering, but anyway, interesting names. And tucked there, hidden pretty much under everything which might require a transplant, is a pulmonaria. Alright, so we'll get a quick look at this side of the garden. It's mostly daylilies, and as we get down there we'll see the bed that's under the magnolia. So these property owners like the phlox, which has gotten established well. So over here, to create some continuity, I've added in a little more phlox. And this is the Hebracti Amsonia, which is really wonderful. Great in combination with the false blue indigo Baptisia. And really these are these are nice plants. I think last fall I transplanted this catmint, and oh yeah, there's there's a few different sedums ground cover phloxes I've added, and those are blue. They're called emerald blue. I don't remember the color of the others. Here's a nice self-seeding plant that I like that has a scented foliage called Feverfew. And these are an unusual spirea. And tucked in the back there's some more phlox. They really need to come out here where they won't be so hidden. And this is a really beautiful Monarda. I like these. I like the hot pink ones. This one's a little understated. And then red. A lot of variety in the color in the Monarda family. Alright, and then moving on around. See, it's tucked in back there. There's a few other things. Like I think I put a Boltonia in there that needs to grow to get some height on it. And in the very back, those are really stunning suckering shrubs, so they have to be kind of used in the right circumstances. But that's the Calycanthus floridus, or the Carolina allspice. Really wonderfully fruity, scented, unusual flowers. Early season. So here we can have kind of a quick look at this bed on the approach. And the plant that's so big there is the Castor or Ricinus. And I'll probably put on another, I don't know, I mean, I'd say put on a little more height. We've still got a lot of summer left. And really sort of the statement piece of this portion of the garden. And once again, a big mixture of plants here. Sort of, I've been redeveloping it. So they're behind, sort of beside the castor, I've got a Helianthus. And if I don't put the castor back in next year, then it's an annual, so that might really fill that area nicely. But I like the placement. And then here I have 5 Liatris, and as they grow in over the next couple years, I'll stand back so you can see the vision. You'll have them shooting up with purple and white spikes behind the arborvitae. And then here, some of these transplants are doing okay, some not so much. We've been careful to be attentive to them in most cases, but this is a wild petunia. Interesting plant, does pretty well. This is skullcap, which is named after the kind of little leftover portion of the bit of the after flowering. So once again, a mixture of ground covers and conventional things. I tucked in those grasses on a whim a couple years ago because the owner mentioned being a fan of ornamental grass. I'm really excited to see this next year. It's a Crocosmia, the common Lucifer cultivar, and then that's actually kind of a mystery iris. And moving on down, more lantana, some roses. This used to have a lot of roses in the bed, and here's an example of a butterfly milkweed. More Phloxen sedum and Shasta daisy. Oh, and I should get back there and show you one other plant that's really interesting. It's called Royal Catchfly, and it's got a sticky bit of it. Well, it's just past its bloom, but it's got a really stunning red, true red bloom, and it gets a bit sticky on the stem, etc. So that can cause some discomfort for insects. That's a New England aster, which I probably will transplant out to a little bit of a sunnier spot. And I had a leftover coleus from a blend that I bought at a nursery called the Wizard Mix, and then that's a pretty stunning example. Beautiful. Really a big fan of those. I was just having a conversation earlier today about coleus. And ground cover, geraniums, and euchras. This area I'll probably drop in some more ground cover. These are really wonderful plants called Tiarella, minus these couple weeds. And I'm a huge fan of Tiarella, so maybe I could do a little border of about like 5 more all the way down. They do a beautiful upright firework looking bloom. And low juniper hedge. These are Itias, and in the back we have some inkberry holly, which get leggy, like there's often exposed twigs on the bottom. They can withstand a rejuvenation pruning, which I did on one other property this year, but even after that, they start again kind of at the bottom. So it's really at this point kind of, since these Itea have grown up, it's an unfortunate shrub to have back there. So probably going to remove them and think about something else. So what I've done is these tall plants that are flowering are an Anisis hop, and they get tall and they've colonized well, and I'm trying to also install some Coreopsis, which is a tall. Coreopsis has some various effects you can get, but anyway, this is a nice tall one. So allowing it to self-seed, and we'll kind of have this whole area be tall plants with slightly different bloom times. And then more Liatris, which I love putting everywhere. Okay. And so it's always a process, a multi-year process to get gardens to be really performing in the way that's sort of in line with the vision. This area of the garden in particular has, it's like a small amount of topsoil, but then it's like hardpan clay or something from the development. And so this Japanese maple, it's usually would be growing quickly, and it's just not. So it's sort of, the underlayer of soil here is really not working out for that particular tree. And big grasses. Nice example of a catmint. Mid-season you can shear those almost back to the ground, and you'll get a second flush of growth, and that can check their size and lead to, it probably encourages more blooming also. So here we'll move on, just beautiful spruce specimens there. Nice garden, it's beautiful, it's always a pleasure to work here. So here is the other side of this walkway. And years ago there was an attempt to establish more of the creeping phlox coming out over the entire path. It's just not working out with the aggressive root system of the magnolia. So over the last 2 years, just been pretty much throwing everything in here and seeing what sticks. And I've had wonderful success in almost every condition, from clay, etc., with these penstemon. It's just Penstemon digitalis. And just seeing what works here. That's an aromatic aster right beside a New England aster. And I dropped in a pink petunia. So the marigolds are doing well. There's a few ground covers I thought that I would try to get established here, that epimedium being one of them. So that might be an option for right there around the base. And the vining plant is a hyacinth bean. Lab is the Latin. And it's, I've never used it as a ground cover, but I've pretty much put it all over the place this year, and just seeing how it behaves in different conditions. And here's a new one that was interesting to me called coralberry, which is also a suckering shrub, but in this case I think it should be okay, but I really don't know what to expect from it, but it's got beautiful berries. And then I think that's just about it. I'll show you one more plant as we finish the tour. I can't remember what we took out here, but we've re-added what looks like a holly, but it's an osmanthus, and I had to special order all 4 of these shrubs. And of course, like, I ordered 3 of them, and then I had to order a 4th to flesh out the border. And maybe I'll need another couple if we're going to continue with that theme. But this is called Goshiki, is the one that you can often find in cultivation now. which is variegated, which I think that the variegation really causes an issue because the flush of new growth on this osmanthus, these are called party lights, is a beautiful mixture of cream and pink early season, and so the variegation really just washes out that stunning effect. And so I'm really excited for the coming years when this border fills in. But anyway, yep, so here we have it. Hope you enjoyed this garden tour, and it's been a pleasant couple of moments talking with you about all my thoughts. Thanks for tuning in.